It started on a quiet night over the Pacific Ocean. The sky was clear, the stars calm, and Earth seemed at peace. Then at exactly 02:14 a.m. UTC, the stars moved. At first, astronomers thought it was a glitch in their telescopes. A massive shadow had appeared among the stars, something blocking the light. It wasn't moving like a comet or a satellite or anything known to science. It was too large and completely silent. Within minutes, observatories around the world confirmed it. A colossal object, black, smooth, and shaped like an arrowhead, was in orbit around Earth. No heat, no signal, no reflection. It was simply there. Governments went into emergency lockdowns. Satellites were redirected, radar systems overloaded. The object didn't respond to radio contact, laser scans, or coded messages. It just floated above Earth like a sleeping monster. People started calling it the Dread Ship. The name spread faster than any official announcement. News channels tried to calm everyone down, but live streams showed the truth. A huge dark shape hanging over the clouds, sometimes visible when lightning flashed. Then, strange things began to happen. Power grids across the world flickered. Communication lines glitched. Airplanes reported compass failures, and strange static voices whispering through radios. No one could trace the source. In a research center in Houston, Dr. Aria Voss stared at her monitor. "This isn't a natural object," she whispered. "It's waiting." Her assistant asked, "Waiting for what?" She didn't answer, because deep down she already knew. It was waiting for us. In orbit, the International Space Station crew had the best view. Commander Leon Vargas recorded what he saw through the observation window. "It's massive," he said quietly. "It's turning." The feed cut out. For 2 full minutes, the ISS vanished from radar. When contact returned, the crew reported nothing. They had no memory of those missing minutes. Around the world, fear spread. Some people prayed. Some packed and ran. Some believed it was the end. But others, scientists, soldiers, and dreamers, believed it was the beginning of something greater. By dawn, global military forces had surrounded the skies. The US, China, Russia, and the European Union formed an emergency council. Missile systems went online. Fighter jets circled. Still, the ship did nothing. Then a single drone was sent up from Area 12, a secret base in Nevada. It climbed steadily into the sky, cameras locked on the black object. For a few seconds, the feed showed nothing but darkness. Then static. The drone vanished, signal gone. No explosion, no debris, just gone. "Send another," the general ordered. The second drone lasted only 5 seconds longer. "A third drone," he said, voice shaking. When the third one disappeared, the room went silent. The black ship never moved. It never attacked. It simply absorbed whatever came near it. Hours passed. The world waited. Then, without warning, the ship's surface began to glow faintly with strange blue lines. The light formed patterns, like alien symbols, moving across its hull. Every satellite caught the same detail. The markings looked almost human. Dr. Aria Voss stared at the images. These symbols, they look like old human runes. Prehistoric, maybe. How can that be? Before anyone could answer, every screen on Earth flickered. Phones, computers, TVs, everything with a screen. They all turned black. Then a voice spoke. It was deep, calm, and everywhere. "We have come for what was promised." The voice didn't come from speakers or transmissions. It vibrated through the air itself. Every person heard it inside their mind, like an echo of thunder under their skin. Some collapsed in fear. Others screamed. The world froze. In Washington, the president demanded answers. What do they mean, promised what? Who are they talking about? No one knew. The voice never returned. The screens returned to normal. And the Dread Ship stayed silent once again. By evening, religious groups called it divine. Scientists called it extraterrestrial. Conspiracy theorists said it was human-made, an ancient weapon waking up. But one truth remained. No one understood it. Dr. Aria studied satellite images late into the night. Then she noticed something terrifying. The ship wasn't floating. It was aligning. Its position in orbit was shifting, slowly matching Earth's equator, as if scanning every continent. She called the control center immediately. "Listen to me," she said. "It's not waiting anymore. It's searching." Before they could respond, the lights in the room went out. The building shook gently, like the air itself had thickened. The power returned moments later, but all the monitors now showed the same image, a rotating symbol glowing in blue light. The same symbol seen on the Dread ship's hull, and below it, a single line of text appeared on every screen. "Deliver the Celestine Key." No one knew what it meant. No one had ever heard of the Celestine Key, but the ship, it had spoken. That night the people of Earth looked to the sky and saw the impossible. The Dread ship turned slowly, revealing a giant circular opening on its underside, an eye of blinding blue light staring straight at the planet. Then, just as suddenly, the light faded. The ship went dark again, silent. Still, but across the globe, those who listened carefully swore they heard something faint in the distance. A whisper, like metal grinding against stone, like something waking up. The world didn't sleep that night. After the Dread ship's voice echoed across every screen, fear settled deep into the hearts of billions. Everyone kept asking the same question: what is the Celestine Key? Governments denied knowing anything. News anchors repeated official statements, but the people didn't believe them. Social media exploded with theories. Some said it was an ancient alien artifact hidden on Earth. Others believed it was a secret human project that had gone terribly wrong. But no one had proof. Only one thing was certain: the Dread ship was still there, watching. In Geneva, deep beneath the United Nations building, the First Contact Task Force was formed. The world had no choice but to unite. Representatives from every major power sat around a long glass table, faces pale and tired. At the head sat Commander Aria Voss, a decorated officer known for her calm under pressure. "The ship spoke directly to us," Aria said. "It didn't use radio or sound waves. It entered our networks, our minds. That means it understands us. It knows who we are." A scientist from Japan raised his hand. "But what is this Celestine Key? It must be something important, something it believes belongs to it." Aria looked at the holographic display of the Dread ship. It said, "Promised." Maybe someone, or something, made a deal long ago. While the council argued, strange things began happening on Earth. In several places, the Sahara Desert, the frozen fields of Antarctica, and the deep jungles of Brazil, glowing symbols appeared on the ground. They were enormous, each the size of a city block, carved into rock and ice with perfect precision. The same symbols from the Dread ship's hull. Scientists couldn't explain how they appeared overnight. Satellites confirmed the shapes were not random. They matched ancient human markings found in ruins thousands of years old. It was as if the ship was activating something that had always been here. Dr. Ilara Kane, still leading her research team in Houston, worked day and night to decode the symbols. She noticed a pattern. Every symbol was part of a message written in mathematical code. Each one pointed to a location in space. When she connected them all, it formed a map. She called Aria immediately. "Ilara, what is it?" "It's a map," she said breathlessly. "A map to a place far beyond our solar system. The Dread ship isn't here by accident. It's looking for something or someone, and Earth is just part of that puzzle." Aria frowned. "And this Celestine Key, could it be the way to activate whatever that map leads to?" "I think," Ilara said softly, "it might be a piece of technology humanity once lost, maybe even something we were never supposed to have." While the scientists worked, fear spread faster than truth. Riots broke out in major cities. Some groups began worshipping the Dread ship as a god. Others tried to destroy its symbols, believing it was evil. In one small town in Chile, a man claimed to hear the ship whisper his name in his dreams. By morning, he was gone, leaving behind a burned mark on the ground shaped like the same glowing rune. Meanwhile, in orbit, the Dread ship finally moved. It shifted slowly, aligning directly over Antarctica, one of the symbol sites. Its underbelly glowed again, brighter than before. A massive beam of blue light shot down, piercing the clouds. Every camera on Earth turned toward it. The light hit the icy ground with impossible precision, melting snow in seconds and revealing something buried deep beneath, a structure, metallic, ancient, not alien, human. Commander Aria and her team were deployed immediately. A special aircraft, the Aegis 9, carried them through the storm toward the glowing beam. As they landed, the air shimmered with static. The snow hissed and turned to steam. Aria stepped forward, her breath visible in the freezing air. Before her stood a massive metallic door, covered in the same symbols as the ship. And in its center, a circular indentation, shaped like a missing piece. It's waiting for a key, one soldier whispered. Aria stared at the symbol. The Celestine key, she said. Suddenly the beam from the dread ship intensified, striking the door. The ground shook, the ice cracked, and the door opened. Inside the structure, the team found what looked like an ancient lab. Machines long dead, covered in frost. Walls etched with markings of both alien and human design. It looked thousands of years old, yet somehow built for human hands. Dr. Ilara's voice came through the comms. Commander, the readings from your location. They match a signal we picked up from deep space. What kind of signal? A distress call. It's been repeating for centuries. Aria stepped deeper into the icy chamber. At the far end, a single console was still glowing faintly. She brushed the ice away and found words written in English. Project Celestine, status incomplete. Then the console lit up on its own. Blue light filled the chamber. The dread ship above Earth responded instantly, glowing the same color. And across the entire planet, every screen flickered once again. A new voice spoke, softer, but colder than before. You hold what was never yours to keep. Every human felt it in their bones. The dread ship was no longer silent. It had seen the truth. It knew that the Celestine key, whatever it was, had been hidden by humans long ago. As the voice faded, the ground under Antarctica rumbled again. Something deep beneath the ice began to awaken. Machines that hadn't moved for thousands of years started to glow. Aria looked up toward the sky. The ship isn't just here to talk, she said quietly. It's here to collect. The radio crackled once more, and Dr. Ilara's terrified voice came through. Commander, we've just detected another signal. Multiple ships. Entering the solar system. Aria's eyes widened. How many? Ilara hesitated. Hundreds. The world stood on the edge of panic. Hundreds of dread ships were now entering the solar system, each one enormous, silent, and aimed directly at Earth. No one knew how much time was left. Commander Aria Voss sat inside the Aegis 9 dropship, staring through the window at the frozen land below. The Antarctic base they had discovered. The strange metallic structure was now under heavy guard. Inside it, scientists worked day and night to decode the data found on the glowing console. Dr. Ilara Kane's voice came through the comms. Commander, we found something. The console contained old star maps, coordinates to a planet once colonized by humans nearly a century ago. But officially, it never existed. What's the name of the colony? Aria asked. Ilara's voice trembled. Erebus 9. Erebus 9, a name buried deep in forgotten archives. It was one of humanity's first attempts at building a city beyond the solar system, launched 80 years ago. The mission was lost in silence. No one ever returned. The records were erased as if someone wanted to forget it ever happened. Now, those same coordinates were glowing again, inside alien code. Within 48 hours, a small exploration team was ready. Aria led the mission, joined by Ilara, a few soldiers, and 2 AI drones. Their ship, the Horizon Gate, jumped through hyperspace, following the old star charts. The journey took 12 hours. When they dropped out of FTL, they found themselves orbiting a dying world. Erebus 9 hung before them, a cold planet of storms and dust. No signals, no signs of life. But as their scanners swept the surface, a single structure appeared. A dome buried under layers of sand and metal, still faintly powered. Aria spoke softly. Erebus 9. You've been waiting. They descended into the colony's ruins. The wind screamed across empty streets. Collapsed towers leaned against each other like broken bones. Inside the dome, everything was dark except for one flickering light. As they moved through the tunnels, they found murals, strange carvings that mixed human faces with alien shapes. Ilara touched one of the walls. "These aren't just human designs," she said. "Whoever built this had help," one soldier called out from ahead. "Commander, you need to see this." They entered a large central hall. At its center was a circular platform surrounded by ancient machines. And on the floor, skeletons, dozens of them, all human. Some were wearing colonial uniforms. Others wore armor with symbols never seen before. Aria knelt beside one of the bodies. 80 years ago, these people died waiting for something," she said quietly. Ilara looked around. Or trying to stop it, they powered up the central platform. To everyone's shock, the old machines still responded. Holograms flickered to life, logs, audio clips, messages left by the last survivors of Erebus 9. A man's voice echoed through the chamber. "Day 4567. We've made contact. They came from beyond the Orion Gate. They say humanity broke the Celestine Pact. The others are coming. We must hide the key." The recording ended abruptly. Ilara's hands shook. The Celestine Pact. Maybe that's what the Dread ships were talking about. Aria nodded. "They said, 'We have come for what was promised.' Maybe humanity promised them something and then betrayed them." Suddenly, one of the AI drones beeped. "Commander," it said, "detecting energy beneath the floor." They cleared debris and found a hatch, sealed for decades. With effort, they forced it open and climbed down a long shaft into darkness. At the bottom, the air was warm. A massive underground vault opened before them, and in the middle of the room stood a single chair, surrounded by glowing blue veins of energy running through the floor. On the chair sat the skeleton of a human, frozen in place, one hand gripping a small crystal shard that pulsed faintly with light. Ilara whispered, "The Celestine Key." This could be part of it. Aria reached out carefully, picking up the shard. The moment she touched it, the room lit up. The machines around them roared to life, holograms filling the air. They saw visions. Earth under siege, skies burning, the dread ships hovering over cities. Then a voice spoke, not from the shard, but through it. "You were warned. The Guardians awaken when the oath is broken." The shard's light grew brighter until it became painful to look at. When it faded, the hologram showed one final image, a massive dread ship orbiting Earth. But this time, it wasn't alone. Thousands filled the sky. The vault began to shake violently. The machines were overheating. Aria yelled, "We need to move, now!" They ran up the shaft as explosions tore through the tunnels. The Horizon Gate lifted off just as the colony started collapsing into itself, vanishing under waves of dust and fire. From orbit, the destruction looked like a volcano erupting. Then in the middle of the chaos, a beam of blue light shot from the planet's surface straight into the stars, pointing directly toward Earth. Ilara stared in horror. "That signal, it's a beacon. We just activated it." Back on Earth, the dread ship reacted instantly. Its lights grew brighter, its structure shifting like a living organism. The other ships in the solar system turned, forming a pattern in space, a formation shaped like the same rune seen on Erebus 9's walls. In the UN command center, alarms blared. "The ship's changing orbit," an officer shouted. "It's aligning over the North Pole." The global network lit up with static, and then, once again, that cold voice returned. "The key has awakened. The awakening begins." Aria and her team watched from space as Earth glowed faintly beneath them. The dread ship was no longer silent. It was communicating with something deep inside the planet, Ilara whispered. "We were never supposed to find Erebus 9, were we?" Aria's eyes were fixed on Earth. "No," she said quietly. "But now, it's too late to stop what's coming." The sky over Earth changed. What was once calm and blue now shimmered with strange colors. Lights rippled through the atmosphere like waves in water. Every radar system on the planet screamed with interference. And above it all, the dread ship began to move. For weeks, it had stayed silent, still, and cold. Now its surface was alive, glowing with blue and silver lines that pulsed like veins. The ship was responding to something in orbit. Commander Aria Voss watched from the deck of the Horizon Gate. They had just returned from Erebus 9, carrying the glowing shard they had found in the underground vault. Dr. Ilara Kane stood beside her, the shard sealed inside a protective chamber. "It's pulsing faster," Ilara said softly. "Like it's calling to the ship," Aria nodded. Then the ship heard it. Down on Earth, chaos spread across nations. The power grid failed in several major cities. Skies darkened. Lightning storms formed out of nowhere, but the lightning wasn't natural. Each strike was blue, almost mechanical, hitting specific coordinates across the planet. In Antarctica, where the dread ship's beam had first touched the ground, the ice began to crack again. Scientists stationed nearby sent distress calls. They said something was moving beneath the surface, and then silence. Their signals were gone. Inside the United Nations Command Center, panic filled the room. Leaders shouted orders, scientists scrambled for explanations, and generals demanded action. Aria's voice came through the secure line. "This is Commander Voss. We believe the shard from Erebus 9 is connected to the dread ship. It's reacting to it." The president's voice was sharp. "Can it be used as a weapon?" Aria hesitated. "We don't know. It's more like a piece of something bigger." Dr. Ilara's voice broke through the static. "Sir, our analysis shows the shard isn't just technology. It's ancient, older than human civilization. But the material is human-made." Everyone went silent. "How is that possible?" the president asked. Ilara took a deep breath. "Because humanity might not be as young as we think." At that same moment, the dread ship sent out a burst of energy, a pulse that covered the entire planet. Every satellite, every radio, every piece of technology went dark for 5 full seconds. And then a signal appeared, a series of coordinates transmitted directly to Earth's defense network. Aria looked at the data. "They're sending us locations." "Star systems." Ilara leaned closer. "It's a map, just like the one from Erebus 9, but this one shows more. There are dozens of systems marked, each with symbols that match the shard's patterns." Aria frowned. "What do they want us to see?" Hours later, the shard activated again. It projected a hologram in the middle of the ship, showing thousands of dread ships gathering near a distant galaxy. Then the image shifted. A new figure appeared, a tall silver humanoid with glowing eyes. Its voice was deep and cold. "Humanity broke the seal. The Guardians awaken. The stars remember." The hologram vanished, leaving only silence. Ilara whispered, "Guardians." "The dread ships?" Aria nodded slowly. "If they're guardians, what were they protecting?" Back on Earth, something extraordinary happened. A storm of energy circled the planet, and massive glowing shapes appeared on the ground, old ruins lighting up for the first time in thousands of years. In Egypt, the Great Pyramid glowed with blue light. In South America, the Nazca lines pulsed as if alive. Every site connected through an invisible web of energy. Scientists realized it was a network, an ancient defense system buried under Earth. Ilara called it the Celestine Network. "It's a planetary shield," she explained, "but it's been dormant for ages. The dread ship's pulse is reactivating it." Aria stared at the data. "Then maybe it's not here to destroy us. Maybe it's trying to wake us up." But before hope could rise, darkness struck again. From the far side of the moon, smaller dread ships appeared, 10 of them shaped like black daggers. They surrounded the main ship in perfect formation. Earth's militaries panicked. Fighter squadrons launched into orbit, missiles locked on. For a moment, the world held its breath. Then, one of the smaller ships fired. A beam of energy sliced through the sky, destroying an entire satellite fleet in seconds. No explosions, no debris, just silence. Aria slammed her hand on the console. "They're testing us, measuring our strength." Ilara looked pale. "Or warning us not to interfere." In the cold void of space, the original dread ship began to shift again. Its surface opened like giant petals unfolding. From its core emerged a massive structure, circular, metallic, glowing with blue light. It looked like an eye, staring straight at Earth. Every human who saw it felt the same thing, an instinctive fear, as if something ancient had recognized them. And then, for the first time, the Dread Ship spoke again. The awakening begins. The seed world must remember. The message echoed across the world in every language. Children cried. Machines malfunctioned. Oceans rose and fell unnaturally. And then, silence. On the horizon gate, alarms blared. The shard is overheating, a crew member shouted. Ilara ran to the containment chamber. The shard's glow was blinding. It's sinking with the ship, she yelled. Aria looked out the window at the massive dread ship, its eye now fully open. What happens when it finishes sinking? She asked. Ilara swallowed hard. Then Earth's true history begins to wake up. That night the stars over Earth flickered like dying candles, and one by one, faint blue lights appeared across the solar system, signals from old forgotten satellites no one had ever launched. Each one carried the same message. Project Celestine, defense grid rebooting. Aria watched the transmission with disbelief. It's been here all along, she whispered. Ilara nodded. Hidden beneath history, waiting for the dread ship to return. But in the distance, deep beyond the blackness of space, more shapes appeared. Hundreds, thousands. The rest of the fleet had arrived. The stars were no longer quiet. Where once there had been only one dread ship, now there were hundreds, forming patterns across the night sky like constellations reborn. People on Earth stared upward in fear. For the first time in history, humanity realized it was not alone, and maybe never had been. Commander Aria Voss stood in the command deck of the Horizon Gate, staring at the incoming data streams. Each new reading made her heart beat faster. The ships weren't random. They were moving into formation, military formation. Dr. Ilara Kane studied the holographic map, her eyes wide. They're not just ships, she said softly. They're transmitters. They're creating a network, like a massive communication grid surrounding Earth. Aria frowned. What are they transmitting? Ilara hesitated. A code, a very old one, and it's written in a human pattern. On Earth, scientists struggled to decode the signal. It wasn't alien. It used mathematics, structure, and syntax, known only to humanity's oldest languages. Inside the signal, hidden deep in the data, was a phrase repeated again and again. Humanity has broken the pact. Governments went silent. No one understood what pact meant. But every time the signal pulsed, something strange happened. Ancient machines buried under the planet started to stir. In the Sahara Desert, a sandstorm uncovered a metallic tower, humming with power. In the mountains of China, an ancient temple split open, revealing glowing machinery beneath. Across the world, the Celestine network, Earth's long-forgotten defense grid, was waking up. Aria and Ilara returned to the UN Council through secure holographic link. The leaders looked pale, their voices trembling. Commander Voss, said one of them, you claim these ships are connected to us. Explain that. Aria's voice was steady. The dread ships are reacting to something inside Earth. When we activated the shard from Erebus 9, it triggered this awakening. They're not here to invade. They're here to enforce a law written by humanity itself. The room fell silent. Then Ilara added, we found references to something called the Galactic War Code. It's a protocol designed to prevent any human world from rising again after a forbidden war. The president leaned forward. Are you saying we once fought a war across the stars? Ilara nodded slowly. Yes, long before our history began, we just forgot. To test her theory, Aria ordered the Horizon Gate to scan the moon. Within hours, they found a massive buried structure beneath the lunar surface, a perfect sphere with the same markings as the dread ship. It wasn't alien. It was human technology, millions of years old. When they approached, the sphere activated. A voice echoed through their ship. Authorization required. Celestine command. Identify lineage. The crew stared at each other. Then Aria spoke quietly. This thing recognizes us. Meanwhile, the dread ships above Earth shifted again. Their lights turned red. The largest ship sent out a transmission, not to Earth but to deep space. Ilara managed to decode fragments of it. "It's a summons," she said. "They're calling something, or someone, from beyond our galaxy." Aria clenched her fists. "Then we have to act fast." With the world's governments in chaos, Aria convinced the UN to unite their resources under one flag: Project Celestine. Every nation contributed ships, weapons, and scientists. For the first time in centuries, humanity stood together, not against each other, but against extinction. Using the shard from Erebus 9, Ilara discovered how to activate the ancient defense grid. Deep under the Sahara Desert, she and Aria entered a buried control chamber. The walls were covered in carvings, humans wearing armor, holding the same shards, standing beside the dread ships. It wasn't a story of war. It was a story of guardianship. Ilara touched one of the carvings. "Aria," she whispered, "we didn't build the dread ships to destroy us. We built them to protect the galaxy from us." Before Aria could respond, the chamber came alive. Massive energy conduits powered on, sending pulses of light across the globe. Ancient towers rose from oceans and deserts. Earth was awakening its own army, but the dread ships reacted instantly. Their formation tightened. One ship descended through the atmosphere, entering low orbit over the Atlantic. Every weapon on Earth locked onto it. "Commander, permission to fire?" A voice called through the comms. Aria closed her eyes. "Negative, not yet. Let's see what it wants." The ship hovered silently, then projected a beam of light into the clouds. Within the light, a holographic figure appeared. A woman in ancient armor, her eyes glowing blue. "You were forbidden to awaken the war code," she said. "Humanity swore never to rise again." Ilara stepped forward. "Who are you?" The figure turned her gaze directly toward her. "I am the Keeper of Celestine, the last echo of the old empire. You are descendants of the destroyers. The galaxy still remembers." The hologram flickered and vanished. Moments later, the dread ship fired a shockwave into the ocean, massive but non-lethal. A warning. Back on the horizon gate, Aria watched the satellite feed of destruction. Entire coastlines flooded, cities in chaos. She slammed her hand on the console. "We can't just wait to be punished for a war we don't remember." Ilara looked at her, eyes fierce. "Then we need to prove we're not the same humanity they once feared." Aria nodded slowly. "Then we fight, not to win but to survive. The world united under one voice." The Celestine network came fully online, surrounding Earth in a shimmering shield of light. Old weapons, once myths, came back to life. Massive orbital stations rose from the oceans, powered by forgotten reactors. Humanity had just declared its return to the stars. But far beyond the solar system, deep in the black, something even greater stirred. The Dread Fleet was only the beginning. From the heart of the galaxy, a colossal structure awakened, its signal matching the one from Erebus 9. Ilara stared at the readings, her voice barely a whisper. "They're not coming to destroy us, Aria. They're coming to judge us." Aria looked out the window at the glowing Earth. "Then we'd better show them what humans really are." The night sky burned. Streaks of red fire crossed the heavens as humanity's defense grid came alive for the first time in thousands of years. Over every major city, glowing shields formed, curved domes of blue light humming with ancient power. The Celestine network was fully active. Commander Aria Voss stood on the bridge of the horizon gate. Below her, Earth glowed like a living jewel, wrapped in energy. Above her, the dread ships hovered, hundreds of them, moving in perfect silence. "This is it," Aria whispered. "The test begins." The dread ships made the first move. They didn't fire lasers or bombs. Instead, they released waves of sound, deep rumbling vibrations that shook the entire planet. Buildings trembled, oceans roared. The Celestine shields flickered but held firm. Dr. Ilara Kane watched the readings. "They're probing our defenses, measuring our strength." Aria's eyes narrowed. "Then let's show them," she gave the order. Moments later, human ships, old and new, rose from Earth's surface. They weren't elegant like the dread ships. They were rough, industrial, and full of human grit. Each one bore a single symbol on its hull, the Celestine emblem, a mark of defiance. Thousands of fighters launched into space, forming a swarm around the horizon gate. Humanity was ready. The first real strike came from the Dread Fleet. A single beam of pure white light shot from the lead ship, slicing through space. It hit one of Earth's defense satellites, turning it into molten dust. Then came another, and another, shields holding at 60%. Shouted a technician. Aria clenched her jaw. Focus all defense fire on the lead ship. Target its power core. The sky erupted. Hundreds of plasma cannons fired at once. Missiles streaked toward the dread ship, leaving trails of gold. Explosions burst across the void, painting the dark in fire and fury. For a moment, it looked like the humans were winning. One of the smaller dread ships cracked open, burning bright before exploding in silence. Cheers erupted across the command decks, but victory was short-lived. The main dread ship shifted its formation, its hull changing shape like liquid metal. It opened again, revealing the massive glowing eye at its center. Elara whispered, "It's charging something." The blast came a second later. A shockwave of blue energy slammed into the fleet, disabling hundreds of ships instantly. Communication went dead. Engines failed. Earth's shield flickered dangerously. Aria grabbed the console. "We're losing power. Divert all energy to the core." Elara worked frantically, typing commands. "The Celestine network is overloading. It can't handle this much pressure." "Then we use the shard," Aria said. Elara looked at her in shock. "The shard could destroy the whole grid if we misuse it." "Then it's a risk we take," Aria replied. "Activate it now." Deep beneath the Sahara, the Celestine core began to pulse. Golden light shot through the planet's crust, connecting to towers and reactors across the globe. Every city, every satellite, every human ship suddenly glowed with the same energy. The shard inside the core lit up, and the Earth answered. A massive energy wave burst outward, slamming into the dread ships for the first time. The enemy retreated. The fleet broke formation. Human weapons tore through their lines, pushing them back from orbit. Aria exhaled. "We did it," but Elara didn't smile. "No, look. On the radar, the lead dread ship hadn't moved. Instead, it opened again, and this time a gateway formed inside it. From the gateway came smaller ships, sleek, dark, and alive. "They're boarding us," said a crew member. Moments later, the horizon gate shook violently. Alarms blared. The enemy had breached the ship. Aria drew her sidearm. With me, we take the deck back." Hallways turned into battlefields. Human soldiers clashed with mechanical beings made of shadow and metal. The sound of plasma rifles echoed through the corridors. Sparks flew. Bodies fell. Elara stayed behind at the control station, trying to hold the ship together. She accessed the dread ship's data feed and froze. Inside the code, she found something impossible, a human signature. The dread ships were not alien. They were built by humans. Millions of years ago. Her voice trembled as she called Aria. "Aria, they're ours. The dread ships, they're ancient human machines. We made them." Aria stopped in the middle of a burning corridor. "What do you mean we made them?" "They were guardians," Elara said. "We created them to protect the galaxy from ourselves." The enemy fell back almost as if it heard her words. Then the main dread ship sent another message, directly into Aria's mind. The voice was calm, human, and cold. "You were never meant to return." The seal was broken. The war code is reactivated. Aria clutched her head as images flooded her mind. Ancient battles, burning worlds, humans commanding fleets that spanned galaxies. It was all true. Humanity had once ruled the stars and nearly destroyed them. On Earth, the Celestine core began to overload. Massive energy readings spiked. Elara screamed through the comms. "If this continues, the planet will tear itself apart." Aria knew what had to be done. She turned to her team. "We board the dread ship. We end this from the inside." She gathered a small strike squad, soldiers, engineers, and Elara. Using captured enemy teleporters, they jumped directly onto the dread ship's hull. Inside, the corridors were endless and cold. Walls pulsed like veins, glowing faintly with golden light. And everywhere they looked, human symbols. "This place, it's a tomb," Ilara whispered. "A tomb for our own creation." At the center of the ship, a massive core pulsed with life. Floating inside it was a humanoid figure made of energy and light, the AI controlling the entire fleet. It turned toward them. "You are descendants of the fallen empire," it said. "You awaken the war and you must face the judgment." Aria stepped forward, fearless. "Then judge us. But don't forget who we are." The AI's eye glowed brighter. "Very well, humanity will be tested." Outside, the sky filled with fire. The dread ship began charging its weapon, aimed directly at Earth. Billions watched as the blue light grew, brighter than the sun. Ilara looked at Aria. "If we fail, everything ends," Aria nodded. "Then we don't fail." Silence filled the void. The stars seemed to fade as the dread ship charged its weapon, a glowing sphere of light forming at its center. The beam grew stronger, brighter than the sun, ready to burn the Earth to ash. Inside the ship, Commander Aria Voss and Dr. Ilara Kane stood face to face with the ancient AI Guardian, its form made of energy and light. Its voice was calm, powerful, and cold. "Humanity's age ended once before," it said. "You were not meant to return." Aria stepped forward. Her face was bruised, her armor cracked, but her eyes still burned with fire. "We are not the same humanity that destroyed the stars," she said. "We've learned. We've grown. We fight for more than power now. We fight for life." The AI tilted its head as if studying her soul. "Prove it." Ilara connected the Celestine shard to the ship's main console. Instantly the chamber lit up with holograms, images of Earth, its people, its history, wars, peace, love, sacrifice. Every victory and every mistake of humankind played like a storm of memories. The AI's light flickered. It saw the suffering, the progress, the kindness. "You have forgotten your empire," it said. "But you remember your heart." Aria took a breath. "If you can see that, then stop this war." But the AI shook its head. "The war code cannot be stopped. It must be completed." The floor began to tremble. The weapon core roared louder. Ilara shouted, "Aria! It's going to fire!" Aria looked at the glowing Celestine shard in her hand. It pulsed with light, as if alive. She realized something. The shard wasn't just a weapon. It was a key, a way to access the original Celestine command. She turned to Ilara. "If I connect this shard to the AI's core, I might be able to override the war code." Ilara's eyes widened. "You'll die if you do that. The energy will tear you apart." Aria smiled faintly. "Maybe, but if it saves everyone, it's worth it." Before Ilara could stop her, Aria ran toward the glowing core. Energy whipped around her, burning her armor, slicing her skin. She screamed, but she didn't stop. When she reached the core, she pressed the shard into it. The world exploded in light. Suddenly, she wasn't inside the ship anymore. She stood in a vast, empty space filled with stars. Before her stood a figure, tall, radiant, wearing the same armor she had seen in ancient carvings. "Who are you?" she asked. The figure smiled. "I'm Celestine, the first human. The one who began it all." Aria froze. "You created the dread ships?" Celestine nodded. "Yes, long ago humanity reached the stars and built wonders beyond imagination. But our pride destroyed us, so I created the war code to keep our descendants safe from our own power. It seems I succeeded too well." Aria's voice broke, then ended. "Stop the code!" Celestine's eyes glowed. "Only the living can decide their fate. The choice is yours." He reached out his hand. Aria took it. A pulse of light shot through the entire galaxy. Outside, the dread ship's weapon suddenly stopped charging. The blue glow faded. All across the sky, the dread fleet froze, like statues caught in time. On Earth, people watched as the dark ships slowly turned golden, their hulls transforming from metal to light. The sky shimmered. Then, one by one, the dread ships vanished, leaving behind trails of energy that danced like falling stars. Inside the ship, Ilara fell to her knees. "Aria!" Silence. The AI Guardian's form flickered, then transformed into something new, a blend of machine and human. "The Commander has merged with the Celestine network," it said softly. "She is gone. And yet she is everywhere." Ilara looked at the glowing core. Aria's voice echoed through the ship, not from a body, but from the walls, the lights, the stars themselves. "It's over, Ilara. Humanity passed the test." Tears streamed down Ilara's face. "You did it, Aria. You saved us." "No," Aria whispered. "We saved them. We saved ourselves. Days later, the world changed. The Celestine network remained active, but peaceful now. No longer a weapon, but a bridge. It began transmitting coordinates across the galaxy. Each signal pointed to a different star system. Scientists soon discovered that these systems contained human ruins, entire cities waiting in silence. The lost empire of mankind was awakening. Ilara stood on a cliff overlooking the Sahara sunrise. The air shimmered with faint golden light from the reactivated towers. She spoke softly to the wind. "Aria, we'll carry on your dream. Humanity will return to the stars, but this time with wisdom." Above her, a faint voice answered through the comms, warm and distant. "I'll be watching." Far across the galaxy, on a distant world, ancient machines powered on for the first time in millions of years. Massive gates opened, revealing shining cities floating in space. Holographic banners lit up, each carrying a single symbol, the Celestine emblem. The galaxy stirred. Old memories returned, and somewhere among the stars, a new voice echoed through the cosmos, Aria's voice, guiding the reborn empire of humankind. "This is not the end. This is the beginning of humanity's second dawn.